All right, we are back on the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. How is everybody out there doing? The week that is college football, having some time to digest it. Hopefully, everybody is having a good Labor Day. It is going well for everybody. I just figured I would do a little. It is Monday. We're coming at you about an hour early. Just on that thought of it, it's one of the things that we have going on. The big weekend that was college football. Just getting it going, retweeting the stream. Just getting this going. Bear with me 1 second. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got going. Hopefully everything's going well. We'll get into Alabama and some of the things that were from this weekend in college football. You got UNC taking on TCU tonight. So Bill Belichick makes his debut. There's just a lot there, a lot to unpack. This just in a little bit ago, Florida State is the first program under the ACC's new event policy after fans stormed the field versus Alabama, docked $50K. That's just kind of the cost of doing business. That is something that is going on out there in the college football space. The conferences are fining these programs for when people do storm the field. So that is kind of where it's at. But we'll take care of some other notes, some other pressing things. On the Big Ten front, Kirk Ferentz ties Woody Hayes for the most wins as a Big Ten coach. Kirk Ferentz been there 27 years. That is a big milestone, 205 wins that he has accomplished. So shout out Kirk Ferentz. Iowa's always very consistent. They know who they are, to say the least. But before we get going any further, if you can do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button, it's almost better than money for us here at the program. So there's that. Get rid of that. Lee Corso, final show. Had that go on. I'm not going to say that you're not going to miss Coach Lee Corso out there. That is something that, I think he was 30 years on College Game Day, pretty much really built the pregame show for college football. I would say a pillar of college football. And that's it. That is all we got out of Lee Corso. He rides off into retirement. I know there was some folks upset that it wasn't at Florida State, Alabama. It's one of those things that you'll probably never see anything like it again, but 3.5 million viewers for Corso's last stream. Fox, even, I had multiple TVs going. Fox even cut over for him to make his last pick. They went and did it down on the field, and that's just kind of one of those things. They had that Penn State Sports Talk. We are 1-0. Yeah, that's pretty good. That is a fact. But yeah, Corso, give him his flowers, a round of applause that he needed. But getting into Corso here, if you would have parlayed his last picks on game day, he went 6-0. He took Ohio State, Tennessee, Florida State, LSU, South Carolina, and Miami. That's a hell of a way to going out on top for Lee Corso. That's unbelievable. Ends up with a 6-legger if you would have bet it. The only really major chalk one that he had was Tennessee, but unfortunately, I was on the other side of that one, so we'll see. But getting into some other notes here, this is funny. Dabo 0-4 against the SEC, but the thing with Dabo and Clemson, the one thing that I have found is it's just the fact that they are live scheduling games. It's not the fact that you can say Clemson is ducking people by any means, but they are scheduling pretty much. They had what was it? Georgia last year, Florida or not Florida, but they had Georgia last year. They had they took on LSU this year. They're consistently scheduling everybody, and in the last 4 games, he did drop one at the end of the year last year to South Carolina, but South Carolina was a borderline fringe playoff team. So people want to give Dabo all kinds of hell about it, but if you're a Clemson fan, I mean, Dabo's coming in onto I believe 200 wins, so there is that. But some other notes here. The LSU fans stormed Clemson's field for a little bit of a dance-off at the end of it, which I was shocked that security let them on the field, with them being the opposing team's fans. There was all kinds of stuff that I had seen on the internet. There was some kid that was double burden a Clemson fan. It was an older gentleman, and he just grabbed him by the throat, and that's just what it is in college football. But I think the internet folks now are coming to the realization that they're not going to be able to hide behind a screen whenever they're talking smack to somebody. I just feel like that at a certain point, something's got to give with the amount of internet trolls and everything like that, because there's a reason why they are like that. So there's that. Get this out of here. But something that I wanted to talk about, Paul Feinbaum. This is Paul's bold predictions. Paul said Texas would blow out Ohio State. Arch Manning was the best player since Tim Tebow. Alabama was a national title contender, and ranking them 8th was far too low. Generational ball knowledge. I don't know if it's generational ball knowledge. A lot of ball washing going on by Feinbaum. I think here, at a certain extent, what Paul has created, being on arguably the biggest platform, he has got the biggest platform to spew the most nonsense. That's what Feinbaum has. Telling people that Arch was going to be the best thing since sliced bread, I think, is harmful to the player itself, just for the simple fact of Arch has gotten so much pub, so much stuff going on, that you can't hardly put the toothpaste back in the tube now because of people like Feinbaum, and the same thing with Cade Klubnik. And on the other hand, um, Carson Beck, for whatever anybody wants to say, Carson Beck looked outstanding against Notre Dame. He, for the most part, carved Notre Dame up. I just cannot get behind the notion that, and I get it, it's week one, it's overreaction Monday, it's the biggest overreaction in sports outside of whenever the overreactions come for NFL week one. But college football is very passionate. People get real touchy about their schools and the schools that they root for or cheer for. That's why fan is short for fanatic in most cases. But I think that what Feinbaum has done to Arch, for the most part, it's not came in a positive light. I think that to a certain extent, he's doing more to hurt the Arch Manning, the Texas brand, also Alabama, by saying outlandish things. That's why, for the most part, I try to keep it. I would say the biggest, boldest thing that I predicted is I wasn't super high on LSU, but I put a caveat on that. I said, we'll find out what they are when they play Clemson. They went into quote unquote fake Death Valley and won. Nussmeier looked good. Didn't really see Feinbaum talking a whole bunch about LSU. There's teams that are under the radar, like Ole Miss. I mean, it's just wild to me that Feinbaum said that Ohio State was going to get blown out by Texas. I was thinking it was going to be one of the bigger proving grounds. I mean, if you look at where Arch was at, he had to go on to go on the road to a hostile environment at noon. I get it, big noon kickoff, yay. Anybody that's a Big Ten fan is just not in on that. But I understand it. It's one of those things that, do I think we found out about a lot on the Ohio State front? I think we found out Ohio State is elite on defense. I think that both Texas and Ohio State were elite on defense. Arch didn't look the greatest. I mean, it's early in the season. It's week one. It's the very first start for both of these kids. So, I mean, you could see the Ohio State not so much crash out, but I think to a certain extent, some of the Ohio State folks were a little behooved at what they saw. I mean, I can't blame them for that. I think that, there's got to be some type of caution going in there. I don't think the production team at Fox did anybody any favors by showing players frustrated and stuff like that. You got to think, you go from Will Howard at Ohio State that started over 30 some games. You have a veteran starter in Will Howard, a veteran starter in Quinn Ewers that left Texas. I did see that on message board stuff that they were all over the kind of wish we had Quinn back, but the fan base last year, when Quinn kind of struggled a little bit, we're like, oh, we'll get right in there when Arch is there. Well, I think that as far as things are going to where they're heading, you have to ask yourself this question: is Texas better off with Arch Manning? I think he'll settle in. He'll be able to, see what he can do. But it almost makes me wonder, well, why did Grandpa come out and make that comment and say he'll be at Texas next year? Kind of makes me wonder after that week one performance. So, I mean, obviously, Grandpa figured it out and said he's nowhere near ready to be because people had him anointed as the first round pick already. So there's that. I just, I think the saying Arch Manning stuff is just where it's at. I don't think that anybody's season's over per se. I just look at this for, what it is. That's just some of the stuff on the Arch Manning side of things. I don't think that if I'm Arch Manning, I mean, you're not going to fold up shop, but what what is the be all end all? I thought he played better in the fourth quarter outside of the interceptions, but I, I just don't think that this is a big enough sample size to completely want to crash out and tank the year over and say it's over. But I'll be interested to see going forward what other quarterbacks on the schedule for Texas and Ohio State have big years or big games against both these defenses. I think that's something you have to ask yourself because Julian Sain was 13 to 20 for 126 yards, one touchdown. Arch was 17 to 30, 170. He did throw a touchdown, but it was also, 170 yards. I would say that Texas ran the ball for 37 for 166. I thought Ohio State struggled running the ball, but there's that. And no receiver really had a breakout day. Jeremiah Smith had 6 catches for 43. Carnell Tate caught their one lone touchdown. So we'll see on that. And then also, I believe this is Joe Klatt's top 10. Ohio State, LSU, Penn State. I think that's fair. I think Penn State gets leapfrogged by them. Oregon's going to be there. Georgia. And then, I mean, number 1 losing to number 3. Can you really argue? Miami moving up. I would say this is probably what the AP poll's probably going to look like whenever that comes out. So there is that. But getting to some other notes here. Justice Haynes, ex of Alabama, puts on a stellar performance. Tony Alford, the one thing I will go at a certain faction of the Ohio State fan base saying Tony Alford was bad is something that's funny. I mean, 16 carries, 159 yards, 3 touchdowns. You're going to be seeing a lot of that out of Michigan, to be honest. And then we'll go to Clemson, LSU right after the break here. But if this is the first time of you tuning into this show, please hit the like and subscribe button. We're going to be doing live streams on Saturdays. I think Friday's going to turn into a call-in show. We're going to get a call-in show going. Going to have the number and everything out there. That's what we'll have going. I think Friday will be the call-in show and maybe Saturday night call-in show as well. Just something to look forward to. And if you're new to the program, just hit the like and subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications. So with that being said, Nussmeier looked pretty damn good against Clemson, 28 to 38, 230 yards. Cade Klubnik threw for the same amount of yards in the same with a couple less completions. I thought the thing that really separated LSU from Clemson was how well LSU played the run. Klubnik didn't really get out and do a whole lot. Clemson's leading rusher had 16 yards, Randall. They really struggled to run the ball. I thought Sammy Brown for Clemson had a really good game on the Clemson side of it, but that's just kind of where I'm at on that. I just thought which I'm not shocked. I've been really high on Sammy Brown ever since he was a freshman, so that's just kind of my opinion on that. But yeah, I thought LSU looked really good. Now, the one thing I will say on the LSU side of things, I don't know where the bottom's going to fall out because LSU, I believe, has Louisiana Tech this week. Just going down through some scores, Georgia rolled. There were some upset folks that they didn't cover. Oregon rolled. Arizona State had a pretty decent game. Michigan, no question. Florida pitched a shutout. Kansas State won by a field goal, which is coming back from Ireland. That is a tough road to hoe. But Oklahoma looked good. A&M kind of gave up some points. Ole Miss had the chain snatching thrown into the student section. Texas Tech blows the doors off of Arkansas Pine Bluff, blows the doors off of them. And then Notre Dame falls to Miami. One of the bigger things, I think, just judging and looking at the box score, and then I promise we're going to get to Alabama. There's going to be a lot of time allotted to Alabama. Carson Beck looked fairly decent. I thought that typically where Miami would botch it, they didn't. Jeremiah Love, 10 carries for 33 yards. I don't know. That's very puzzling to me. I don't know what that was all about. Eamon here, I wonder when James Franklin this year. Yeah, that's also another that is also another in-depth look at it. I think old James there, he is just the thing is with Penn State, you just can't not count them in until they count themselves out. But the Penn State's going to play Ohio State this year. I believe it's at the Horseshoe, and we'll see if he gets to rewrite some of those wrongs. But I thought Notre Dame struggled on offense. It didn't look like it was in sync. But then again, also they're another major program breaking in a first-year starting quarterback. I just don't. The expectation, I get it for some people. It's there. It's huge. There's, to be fair, Ryan Day tends to change Franklin the last week of November. Amen. Yes, I get that. Even with the Brutus emoji, it's one of those things that I think more of Ryan Day's issue is that it's a mental thing. But also moving on, I don't think that Carson Beck threw for 205, but I think that the telling thing for me was on the defensive line in Notre Dame. I thought they got pushed around and bullied. I thought it was big time on what Miami did. They really pushed Notre Dame around in the trench, and I don't think the defense ever settled in. A lot of people want to blame Chris Ash and say it's going to be a Chris Ash thing. I think it's more of a personnel issue. The way they got pushed around, Miami came out, played bully ball. I think this was Miami's big opening statement to the college football world. Obviously, they did not have the postseason that they were hoping they were going to have. I think that at a certain point, it turned into Miami needed to come out and make a giant statement. And I don't think that I'm not shocked. Notre Dame hasn't won in Miami since like 1980. So there's those factors working against you on top of what you missed on the interior defensive line. Now, do I think they played better in the second half? Yes. But I think that to a certain extent, it fell apart when they were getting pushed around. That's just my opinion. And when Miami came out on the opening drive and scored, I'm like, it wasn't the opening drive, but I believe it was one of the drives in the second quarter. So I don't think that they were completely settled in. But if you're a Notre Dame fan, I think that the big thing is that you have to take away the positives. CJ Carr got the big one out of the way on their side of it, but also you turn the attention to what it is. I believe 2 weeks. You have Texas A&M coming to town. That's also going to be probably one of your tougher tests throughout the year. Now, I think Notre Dame, depending on who they lose to and what those other teams do, if Notre Dame drops Texas A&M, they're in the danger zone, because I don't think that it'll be tougher for them to get into the playoff, because Boise State ends up getting smacked by South Florida and they lose that one. And that's kind of, to be fair, that's going to be tough to overcome because your ranked opponents aren't there. We'll have to see what USC turns into, but that's just kind of where Notre Dame's schedule's at. But if you would have told me on the bingo card, Price would have been the leading rusher leaving the Miami game for Notre Dame, I'd have been like, well, what, did Jeremiah Love get hurt? No, he only didn't get many carries. I thought the offense was kind of herky-jerky and it was out of sync. That's just my opinion. But we will get to the weekend that it was. I think the bigger shock of the weekend was the Alabama-Florida State game. I think my opening statements on this are Florida State came out and punched Alabama in the mouth and they never responded. I've seen a lot of Ty Simpson hate. Do I think Ty Simpson played bad? He had a better passing day than most. He had 20 incompletions. His QBR is in the toilet, but I don't necessarily buy into all of those advanced analytics. PFF, I do believe. I don't even look at that. To be honest, they can say, oh, well, you're not really giving any top flight analysis. The biggest thing that I rely on is the eye test. To me, if I watch a team and they look like they have that edge to them, go back and watch the Ohio State-Texas game. If you look at, or even LSU, if you look at both defenses in that game, they were running around, flying, hitting people with a reckless abandon. And I just didn't see that from an Alabama defense in the past. I just did not see the intensity, the tenacity that they were getting after it. I mean, Ty Simpson, DeBoer did come out and say that Ryan Williams has a concussion. I believe he's in the protocol, but Ty Simpson, 23 or 43 for 254. It's hard to settle in, when you only ran the ball for 87 yards. You were just barely over 3 yards a carry. I'm going to be able to see the coach's film at some point, probably get that done tomorrow, and then the breakdown of Ohio State, Texas via Minnesota Sports. They're going to have those uploads up in the coach's film room. Zach Smith does it as teach tape. So that's where I get a lot of my info from and a lot of learning. So there's that. But as far as the bigger thing is that I think Florida State came out and they made a giant statement. They made a big statement in this game. Castellanos comes out 16 carries for 78 yards, a touchdown. I don't know what else you want more from Castellanos. I guess we'll have to see. I was critical when he left Boston College of how that whole thing transpired. He gets with Gus Malzahn and has, damn near 250 yards of total offense just himself. and he didn't throw any touchdowns. He threw the ball 14 times, and Alabama got their ass kicked 31-17. I don't think I just the big thing is why do I say is DeBoer under pressure? Yes, but also he has a $70 million buyout, $70 or $80 million buyout. That's the problem that is going on in college football right now, because some of these coaches have these gigantic buyouts and you can't move on from them. I'm not saying to move on from anybody at Alabama on the coaching staff, but I did say in past shows when we talked about this, they lost 40 some guys the year Saban retired. They've got to restock the shelf in Tuscaloosa. And also, AJ McCarron, I watched McCready and Siskey today. AJ McCarron says they're under 20 million for their NIL budget. And if this turns into a haves or have-nots race, a lot of the teams in the SEC that don't have the mega boosters, it's going to be a problem. Alabama needs to shake the trees for rich people. That's what it's going to come down to, because you're going to either be able to pay to get these players. I mean, for all the shit that Hugh Freeze took in the offseason, I will say this, all about his golf game, all the stuff, all the Alabama fans making fun of 5 and 7. I think Hugh Freeze has got him one over there on the Plains. I really do think so. And, a lot of people are going to say, well, Hugh Freeze this, Hugh Freeze that. Well, the bigger thing when it comes down to this, go look at the way both teams played. If you watch the Baylor Auburn game, look at their defense and offense compared to what you've seen on Saturday compared to what they're doing in Tuscaloosa. I'm not saying one coaching staff is better than the other. I think you have one team that's bought in and you have another team that's not, because there was a lot of clips out there that I seen on social media of guys getting blown up and just loafing around. And when it comes to the NIL part of this, portion, it's tough to criticize the kids, but at a certain extent, these kids are getting paid now. They're getting paid exorbitant amounts of money. And that's where the line gets blurred a little bit in the college football game. I get it. There's, 18 to 21-year-olds. It's really tough. And, Ryan Williams getting the concussion surely does not help the cause. I thought in the press conference, DeBoer handled himself well. But this is another stat going back to it. There's only 2 players that have had 150 passing yards, 75 rush yards in the last 30 seasons. It's Jalen Daniels and Castellanos. I think that at a certain extent, the buzz is going to come if Castellanos and they come out and they play as well as they did this week. I wouldn't be shocked if Castellanos isn't on the Heisman list soon. Lenora Sellers is going to be there. But if you go through and look at Alabama's schedule going forward, obviously they got Louisiana Monroe. They got to go on the road, or they got Wisconsin coming to town. And the bigger thing is that I think Alabama for so long has gotten away, with having Saban and going out there and just rolling the helmets out there. And I'm not saying that you sound the alarms just yet, but I'm assuming they're going to go out there and they're going to put a hurting on Louisiana Monroe. I thought some of the comments that Kane Womack made is that he was asked about effort in the press conference that I watched. And I think he knew going into it. They watched the film. And I would say that there's going to be some rotations. I would be interested to see what the snap count is for certain guys over the next couple of weeks between Monroe and the week getting ready for Georgia. I would be interested to see what the snap counts look like going forward. Now, am I saying there's going to be a wholesale defensive change? No, but I think there'll be some guys that will see some of the time evaporate. Guys that were starters that weren't. But I also, looking at it, you didn't see a lot of the pissed off raw emotion like you did in the Vanderbilt game. I felt like that last year you had more tenacity and more people getting after it as far as people on the defensive side of things. I just look at it kind of for what it is, and I'm not putting the blame on any one person. It goes as a whole program. You weren't ready to play. Gus Malzahn had all off season to scheme you. And Kane Womack said that we weren't shocked by anything that we seen. Well, no shit. I get that. You weren't shocked by anything you've seen, but here's the problem. You got. And this is I think in DeBoer's tenure, this is a very, very pivotal next 4 weeks. Because you have Monroe, going to be a get-right game. Wisconsin, going to have to see what they are. They didn't look outstanding. I watched a little bit of them. They didn't look the greatest. I think they're going to have issues on offense, but we'll see. You have Wisconsin coming down in the heat if it's hot. And then you got to go on the road to Georgia the last weekend of September. You were on the road at Georgia, and then you have Vandy coming to town, and Diego Pavia runs the state of Alabama. I know the Bama fans ain't going to like to hear that, but he's beat Auburn and Alabama, once at Vanderbilt and once at New Mexico State. I don't think Vanderbilt's going to be a pushover. Should you go out there and mollywop them? Yes. And then you got to go on the road to Missouri, and then you got Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, Eastern Illinois, and then you got to meet up. You got to meet up with that man across the state, the man on the plains, Hugh Freeze. That is what your schedule is. Not that easy. And if Oklahoma and Tennessee, who knows if Joey Aguilar is the guy? If he's the guy there, that Tennessee game just ramps up a notch. And in my opinion, by the effort that you just gave on Saturday, I think once you get past Monroe and Wisconsin, maybe Vandy, who knows what Missouri's going to be, but you got to go on the road to Missouri. And that's in the beginning of November. But some people would say that Vandy is a gimme. I'm not so sure, judging by that effort that was given on Saturday. It just the two biggest things is that I went back and looked at the stat line against when Alabama played Vanderbilt. The biggest stat line that stuck out to me is they struggle with a running quarterback. And Jackson Arnold can run. Don't know what John Mateer is going to be. But you got to go probably see the number one pick is going to be coming to town in LSU with Garrett Nussmeier. Lenore Sellers, he's hell on wheels. I don't know if you watched that Virginia Tech game, but that's hell on wheels. Because Lenore Sellers would keep me up at night if I had a game plan and try to scheme to keep that guy in the pocket. And Lenore's hit deep balls, and he was running around making plays. And I think that is something that would be cause for concern. And I get it, it's death taxes. Alabama beats Georgia. But here's the deal. Last year, when they came out and took their foot off the gas pedal a little bit and let Georgia back in the game, they ended up winning that game. Carson Beck, that was the beginning of the end of Carson Beck's tenure in Georgia. But they go on the road to sleepy Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt comes up and bites you. And then you have the performance you had in Norman. So, and then you get beat in the bowl game. I get it. People sat out. It wasn't the tops the top of the line bowl game, but you still lost. And I feel like at a certain point you kind of carried that over. But here's some comments from DeBoer's press conference. I choose to believe that we are a good football team. Well, I get it. You can choose to believe that you're a good football team, but does it bear that? Does it show that? That's the issue. Because on Saturday, that didn't look like a good football team. That looked like an 8-4, 6-6 team. And I'm telling you, if he goes 6-6 at Alabama, they're not going to fire him. I think Alabama fan should be patient. I think they should be very patient with this because of the amount of guys that they lost. Your starting quarterback is at Ohio State right now. Your probably the leader of your secondary is at Ohio State right now. Your best running back is probably at Michigan right now. This is this is college football 2025. The way the guys that can get paid now is the way it is. There's nothing you can do to stop that. And there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube just for the fact of you don't like it. And I just look at this and all the folks out there clamoring for Nick Saban, it's not happening. So you're going to have to take your medicine and deal with it. I just don't know how else you're going to get this fixed. Because I think DeBoer is probably 1 to 2 years away. The fan base isn't going to stand for that. I mean, but also in DeBoer's defense, he's been successful everywhere he's been. Everywhere. Washington, Fresno State. He was the offensive coordinator at Indiana. I'd seen a lot of people were on the, well, maybe it was just because he had Michael Penix. Well, nobody in the 21st century would have ever thought that Indiana would have got there, and Kane Womack was there too. He turned them into an elite defensive unit at Indiana. Indiana had the building blocks. They got a taste of that success, and that's why they went all in with Kirk Cignetti. I guarantee you the Indiana people are like, they love Cignetti. And you have to look at this for what it is. Do I think that Alabama, if they don't turn it around, it could be a bad year in Tuscaloosa. It could be bad. But they have to turn it around. They have to look in the mirror. That is the big thing. As long as they can look in the mirror, make some personnel decisions. Like I said, whenever Minnesota Sports gets their film breakdown up, it'll be great because I'll be able to look at it. And I look at a lot of the fan base that are turning on the program. I don't think it's time to turn on the program yet, but that effort was unacceptable to their fan base because you can say that this is your opinion and what do you know opposed to that. Well, go read Twitter. And I thought it was very, very telling that DeBoer came out and said, we got to block out the outside noise. That is something that they have to do. To be honest with you, they have to do that because at a certain point last year, when you're a team that has I wouldn't say devastating loss, but maybe Florida State is probably going to be ranked after this game. And it's Gus Malzahn is a hell of an offensive mind. I believe he's a Broyles Award winner. He was there with Cam Newton when Auburn won a national championship. So I just don't think that you can discount the Florida State side of this. They ran the ball for 240 some odd yards. I think that's what's also going to get lost in the shuffle to a certain extent. People are not going to want to accept the fact that Florida State might be good and they might be back. Because outside of what they did on Saturday, they went out there and bullied Alabama. When was the last time Alabama got bullied? I haven't seen that in a long time. So I get it. I get it. The fan base is pissed off, but at a certain degree, you're either going to have to pick up your bootstraps as a football team and get it together, or you're going to just lay down and quit. That's also on the table as well. I don't think DeBoer's going to lay down and quit. I don't think Kane Womack's going to lay down and quit. I just think that they had a bad game, and that's what it is. But to further the point, their schedule's not easy going forward. It's really not. I just think after the Wisconsin game, you go Georgia, Vandy, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma. Outside of ULM, Wisconsin, Georgia ranked, Tennessee ranked, South Carolina ranked, LSU ranked, Oklahoma ranked. Auburn's probably going to be ranked the rest of the year. Will Tennessee stay there? If they keep winning, they will. In a long, strange ride, what would that be the last time Alabama would lose to Georgia, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Auburn all in 1 year? That's got to be pre-Saban. I don't think the Alabama fans want to hear this, but DeBoer's going to be your coach. You could put him up under as much pressure as you want, but you got to find the money tree. You got to go out there and fundraise. That's the big thing, because this NIL thing is no joke. I'm sure Auburn is paying over $20 million for their roster. Ole Miss is creeping up there too. These roster numbers for some of these schools are real. These are real numbers, and it is real money. How do you think Ohio State keeps signing having a top 5 recruiting class year after year after year? The on-field production and the last 3 coaches at Ohio State have won national championships: Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, Ryan Day. Same thing with LSU. LSU would be 4 if Kelly wins one. Saban, Miles, Orgeron, regardless of whether they got fired or not. It doesn't matter who's at the helm. It's just the matter if they can steer it into the right direction. I get it if it's somewhere like Alabama that was down on their luck after Mike Shula, and they go out and they hire Saban. Saban's outside of Bear Bryant pretty damn good. So there was a long time between Nick Saban and Gene Stallings. We've seen how the Mike Price thing turned out. It was over before it even started. And getting it there, the goddamn field's named after him. So I think a lot of Alabama fans will have a big issue with me saying this, but you got to put your money where your mouth is. You want to keep losing guys in the transfer portal? Pony up, ante up. That's what it is. And having a bad performance like this is negatively recruiting, because the kid that Florida State's in on, let's say the top talented defensive lineman or whatever position group that they're in on, well, the only thing they got to do is plop that box score down and cut on a cut up of that. See how they quit? We don't do that here. We had a bad year, but yeah, we're Florida State. We just went out there and mollywopped you in all phases of the game. And one last thing that I will throw out there, the Ty Simpson hate, get off of it. He's going to be the quarterback going forward. You're not going to roll a true freshman out there. There's very few true freshmen that you can roll out there that will be successful. I think Michigan has the exception to the rule. But we're going to see what Underwood is when they go on down to Norman. That's probably their biggest test until they have Ohio State coming to the big house, and that's at the end of the year. But I think one of the other deeper issues is I get it, the Alabama fan base is toxic, but Saban's not walking through that door. So you have to make what you have work. And you don't want to alienate recruits by saying a lot of the stupid shit on Twitter does not help you in recruiting. It just doesn't. It turns parents off, it turns players off, it makes people not want to deal with you. That's why DeBoer said something about turning out the outside noise. Because Twitter, outside noise. And if I ran a program, I would say, okay, fellas, we're not going to be on social media for a while until our effort's better. I can't blame him. Just like they had the one GM there standing on the sideline with all the chains on. I get it. It's not Nick Saban's Alabama anymore. But at some point, you got to have some humility and play hard. What do you think guys like they make fun of them because they're older now? Greg McElroy, AJ McCarron, a couple of those guys. You know, they kind of like, oh, well, they didn't have any swag. That's what the young kids would say. Well, all their swag is sitting in a goddamn box in their trophy case because they got so much shit in there. And one of the things for me is when somebody like AJ McCarron is criticizing you, that's a problem. He's a 3-time national champion. He knows what the commitment to excellence is. He played in the NFL for a long time. I get it. He wasn't some big old starter in the NFL, but he was damn good enough to be there. And his team would rely on him when they needed him. So I think that when you have people that have voices like that are criticizing some things and telling some people to relax and this is what it is and the effort wasn't there, I think I would listen to somebody like that, regardless of how you feel about him or not, whether you like him personally or not. You may not agree with everything that he says, but he's got 3 rings sitting in his trophy case. And I think that at a certain extent, you have to listen to those people that have been there and done it. They know what it's like. So, like I say, getting on the coach's film, hopefully Menace will get that uploaded at some point so I can watch that and see what Zach also thinks about that in an intimate setting. I just think that at a certain point, the only thing I'm hoping for is Alabama not to be Alabama's biggest problem. Joseph here, very disappointed with Indy's play calling. I respect Mike Denbrock, but however, the performance did not make sense. He definitely deserves the blame. Yeah, Joseph, I do agree with you on that. I thought the Notre Dame play calling was subpar. I've seen a lot of people wanting to blame CJ Carr for that, but I'm also on the fence of, and this is also a bigger picture thing in college football. I think people need to realize this. Ohio State, new quarterback. Texas, newer quarterback. Alabama, new quarterback. Notre Dame, new quarterback. All of these major programs, Georgia, new quarterback. All of these major programs are starting new quarterbacks. And I don't think everybody wants to grasp that concept that when you have these big regular season games, it's not going to be 100% efficient like it was against like Castellanos. I mean, I believe Castellanos is a senior, so he's played for it'll be his 3rd different offensive coordinator, and I don't think the stuff that Gus Malzahn is it complex. I don't think it's overly complicated to run the stuff, but it's very confusing to a defense. And especially when Castellanos is doing QB run and running it right down your face, that's what it is. So I think, the Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, a lot of these big major universities are starting new guys. I mean, the only people the top ranked teams that are got guys returning are Penn State with Drew Aller, Clemson with Cade Klubnik, and LSU with Garrett Nussmeier. Now, do I think that LSU can come through and do some things now that they got a pretty good looking defense? Yeah, I think LSU can do some things here in the playoff. Now, I think one of LSU's biggest tests going forward is going to be Florida when Florida comes to town, because I don't think DJ Lagway's a slouch. I don't think so. But as I'm getting to the end of this, I wouldn't say that I'm going on a Alabama rant, but I think sometimes you got to listen to your elders a little bit, and when they come through and criticize you, Zach Davidson, it's all about the you. I think that Miami came out and bullied Notre Dame in the trenches. I do think that happened. I think that was a major deal there. I think a lot of people will look the other way on that. I don't think they'll be real happy about it. But here's my thing. Regardless if you like it or not, I've been on the Alabama train all. That's why DeBoer's on the thumbnail. But I think that Alabama doesn't have any gimmies after Wisconsin, because judging by that defensive performance, if it doesn't improve, it's not looking good, because you have Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, Auburn are your major hitters. I mean, they'll smoke Eastern Illinois, Wisconsin, and ULM, or at least they should. I mean, nothing's for certain in this day and age, but I think that the Alabama fan and Alabama as a program need to look at themselves in the mirror and figure something out, to be honest. Because I just don't think that going on social media and playing the blame game is going to help you internally with the fan base. I think that DeBoer's he answered for it. He went to the press conference. Now, if he would have canceled the press conference and went MIA, then that's not a good thing. But he didn't do that. So Ryan Grubb got up there and spoke, heard his thoughts, but I just don't think firing the quarterback and firing the coach every week is conducive for a positive behavior. It's just not. I just don't think that you're going to be able to get out of your own way. And there's going to be a lot of outside people saying a lot of stuff. So at a certain extent, they got to be told to exit stage left. So got to see, I would say Ryan Williams probably not playing against Monroe. I don't know if he'll even play against Wisconsin. If this is Alabama of old, but do they really need him? I don't know. They got to get something figured out. But accountability is something that I don't think DeBoer's shying away from by any means. I think he stood up there, took the bullets, and they got caught in the trick bag. Gus Malzahn got you again. So that's just what it is. We got North Carolina TCU tonight, Bill Belichick's opener. I would say there's going to be a lot of people watching that with anticipation. We've seen Matt Patricia's debut. He stymied Sark in Texas. So there's that. Outside of that, I think we're kind of on the riffraff. We'll get into some more of some of the other games tomorrow. Also, programming note, I think Steel City will return tomorrow. I think that as long as all the equipment shows up and we get some things done, I think we're going to be doing a call-in show on Fridays and Saturdays. So Friday night call-in show and maybe a Saturday night call-in show as well. So we'll have a number and everything up for you guys to call in. But that's just my look at it. I'll be interested to see whenever Zach gets the film uploaded on his platform, being able to watch that. That'll be very telling to see it through a actual college football coach's eyes, I bet he says something about their effort on defense. I bet he does. But yeah, I watched AJ McCarron and Tyler Siskey talk about it, and AJ played there and Tyler was in the program. I don't think they're off base with their criticism of the program either. I just thought they looked like absolute dog water on defense and gave up, and it also doesn't help in the social media days that you get clipped up and you get put on the internet and people can be rough. But we've reached an hour. Happy Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to everybody out there. Hopefully you're having a safe holiday weekend. And one other thing is we talked about the fine. I got to get this kid's name. Hopefully the Ethan Pritchard kid makes a full recovery. An unfortunate event happened at Tallahassee after a good day for Florida State. That's just kind of the world we live in now. Hopefully he makes a full recovery and is able to have a good one, a good rest of the year. But outside of that, I think that we're pretty much done. Appreciate everybody tuning in. One last thing is do not let Alabama looking like absolute shit deter you from the way Florida State looks as well, because I think Florida State might be back. So, and I think Florida State played a good game. I listened to somebody heed that warning, but so I don't sound like an absolute hack. But Florida State played well. You got to take your hats off to them. But we'll see. Time will tell on the Alabama side of things. So, with that being said, hit that like and subscribe button. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you do enjoy this, turn on those bell notifications so you can catch us with all the content that we have coming forward. And next week, I think we'll probably Ole Miss, Kentucky, and will be a live stream. And Michigan, Oklahoma will be the marquee game that we'll be doing. And also might have a call-in show. Hopefully we can get that done. Hopefully I can get that figured out by the weekend. So with that being said, appreciate everybody watching. We will talk to you guys tomorrow.